Hello,
We all have
hello.
good days.
Good evening, everyone. It's our last Wednesday, last FB Live. It's not our last Wednesday of the month, but it's our second to the last Wednesday for the whole month of December. It's the second to last Wednesday of 2022. Can you believe it? It's a few days na lang. It will be at the end of the year na lang. So there's really the Christmas season rush. So definitely we did not want to miss our monthly check-in with MindNation kasi we felt like next week baka hindi na namin kayo guys makausap. Kaya we really have a special year-ender episode for tonight. So it's our last live stream for the year. Let me bring in my partner in crime with my nation, Kat Triviño. Kat, come on in. Ayan. Or, hello, hello. Ayan, may lag tayo.
It's
Okay,
okay.
sige.
Hopefully not in crime. Partner
In
in
crime,
purpose.
partner.
Fun.
Partners in
Yeah.
purpose. Okay, sige. Parang
Yes. Oh my gosh, here we go again. I'm so
Yes.
excited for today's topic. This topic is really something that has moved me to the direction that I'm in my life, and we've had similar discussions on this before, Dar. Finding your purpose and passion. It's so timely as we enter the new year. We get to reassess where we are in our lives, revisit our goals, and of course, get inspired to take on the new year. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for
Hello,
joining.
hello. Yes, hello. It's so amazing. It's really important talaga kasi sometimes parang I think people forget to take a pause in terms of what happened in the past year
Yeah.
and then suddenly dire-diretso na tayo. Kaya parang I think it's really a good way na parang right now we pause, 'di ba, before the year ends and then and after we pause, let's go go go. So very important as he said that it's really important to find that motivation to start the year in a positive way.
Right.
And syempre, 'di ba, a lot of people get overwhelmed usually with the words purpose and passion. So where do you even start, Kat?
Well, psychologists define purpose as an abiding intention to achieve a long term goal that is both personally meaningful and makes a positive mark in the world. When you say it that way, when you think about purpose or passion that way, sobrang nakaka-overwhelm talaga. Dito natin natatanong yung mga question, what is the meaning of life? And all these big questions, di ba? Very overwhelming talaga. To find meaning in life is such a big task, but it gives us such direction. It's great direction that makes the world also, hopefully, a better place. We can bring to light all of these questions and more through our discussion with our very, very special guest tonight. Tonight, the guest that we will be introducing and bringing on stage is someone that I really look up to and have been looking up to for years. When I also started my journey as an environmentalist and also in mental health. She's an award winning actress, singer and host, a Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations Environment Program, and founder and executive director of CORA, a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising awareness for environmental issues and helping undeserved sectors. Let's all welcome Antoinette Taus.
Hello, hello. Welcome, Antoinette.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh my gosh. Good evening. Happy holidays. And thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Kat, for that wonderful, wonderful, touching introduction. Honestly, you know how much I love you and look up to you, and also so deeply inspired by you. So the feeling is mutual, and the love just keeps flowing. And it's so nice to see you as well, Dar. So much love and light to you. And thank you so much, of course, to BDJ and to Mind Nation for having me tonight.
Thank you. We're so excited to have you tonight. So, siguro to start things off, I know there's a lot of things going on with you. Maybe you'd want to share with our viewers for tonight what projects and initiatives that you've been focusing on in the past few months.
Oh my, it's actually been a very very challenging and hectic year. Um but we're very very grateful, sabi nga na parang pinag-uusapan nyo kanina passion, purpose, finding the ways to make those things happen, and even when they do, it's still a constant movement forward. And for us at Cora, we're so grateful for the opportunities that we've been encountering and that we've been blessed with. One of them is actually our Clean Cities Blue Ocean program with USAID. So that is actually a special project with 10 incredible women that are actually from the city of Parañaque. And these wonderful
Wow.
women are actually doing an incredible job of running the wonderful Eco Center, Recycling Center. And it is a wonderful place that people can go to, can visit, bring their clean, dry, and segregated recyclables. So that's just one of the recycling initiatives that we're still doing, that we actually just launched last July. We also have continued our coastal cleanups. Aside from the coastal cleanups, we still have our mangrove planting activities in Leyte, and of course across the Philippines as well. And not just that, sad to say, because of what is happening with climate change, and of course how the weather has been changing in the Philippines and across the world, we've actually been more busy as well, sadly, with emergency relief operations, really trying to do what we can to get to communities in need, to communities that are off the grid, that need support, and that need relief immediately, or even long term support through solar panels or extended livelihood through our mangrove program. So actually that's just some of the things that we've been doing. Baka mamaya I might turn into a presentation of Cora. But um, those are really just some of the wonderful things that we've been doing. And no matter what it is, we just keep moving forward because whether or not we are moving away from the pandemic, the cycles still move back and forth from the struggles that we are all experiencing. And so it just really matters for all of us to somehow find ways to give back in any way that we can.
Yes.
You know what? I know that I know most of these. So I'm just like, I don't want to say like, oh my God, it's so much. Because yes, there's really a lot that you're doing, and it's great work that Cora has been also involved in, and it's really important. It's really important work. But you also do so many other things on top of this. You also perform. You also do speaking engagements, and the work that you do, I always say, is quite impressive and diverse as well. You can literally do it all. What does passion and purpose mean for you?
Oh my gosh, thank you for mentioning that. Yes, I thought possibly you meant work wise at Cora. So I stuck with those topics. But in reality, yes, you're correct. There's so much I'm really making an effort to juggle. And to be honest, it's really not easy. And, being with you tonight, I know that that's something that you discuss all the time as well, before I get into passion and purpose. And really, even following your passion and purpose doesn't always mean that the whole entire journey is just going to be perfect. There are still challenges and obstacles, but that's why it being your passion or feeling like your purpose makes a difference as well. It makes it more meaningful. It makes the challenges something that are more powerful, that actually drive us forward even more. That if it wasn't connected to something that we were passionate about or purposeful for or purposeful about, we might not be as invested even with the
Yes.
efforts that we put into it. And I feel like that's one of the blessings of passion and purpose, that the efforts that we put into it always definitely feel like they're extra meaningful. And not just that, as Kat mentioned, they can really be healing as well. And I know that a lot of times I've shared my story about passion and purpose and how it also relates to losing my mom, and this was in 2004 due to cancer. But once again, as mentioned as well, it really doesn't always have to come specifically because of certain life events. To be honest, if I look back on how it really began, there was just really that little desire in my heart a few years ago to want to start volunteering in any
Mhm.
way that I could. And it was just a little voice, speaking. Like, I wonder if it's kind of like that. You know how like ideas just randomly pop into your head sometimes? So it was kind of like
Yeah.
that. Like, you know, I wish I could volunteer. I wish I could do more than just some of the things that we do on a yearly basis or on special occasions. And so from that little tiny voice, I guess, I addressed it. I took action. I started asking around. And from there, it really brought me to where I am today in terms of the nonprofit itself. But I still feel, no matter what, that everything we are doing, we're all still volunteers. And I would say that passion and purpose is really not necessarily, again, about volunteering as well. That's one thing that might be a big confusion for a lot of people. When we say passion and purpose, it is just really literally linking what you love, of what makes your heart happy, what gives you joy, and then thinking of ways to really link it to impacts that are tangible and meaningful to possibly the environment or to the people around you, um, the topics that you talk about, whether it be like, let's say, whether it be fashion or food. There's always the way that you can find ways to make it mean something more. And even when it comes to the work that we do every single day, even creative work, that is one of the things that I feel like Kat has always most especially contributed, her brilliance as well, and her creative work, and how that was something that was actually specifically towards her corporate career. But she really found all these ways and avenues to contribute using her incredible skills to make sure that it also contributes to initiatives, to missions that also give back. So it really isn't just about volunteering, it's actually so much more. It's us just recognizing that everything we do um, should hopefully be something that we are passionate about. But no matter what, it is always purposeful, most especially if we intentionally already try to gear it in that direction. I hope that
Right.
makes sense.
Yes. Kat, how about you?
You know what? Whenever we talk about passion and person, Antoinette and I, it's almost always the same discussion. And in my case, what really propelled me to go towards um, uh, more NGO work and also with MindNation, it's really because of something else that when I got diagnosed with depression that pushed me and propelled me to take it more seriously. But reminding me about like how it started off with me and my corporate life, it kind of makes sense that finding your passion and purpose doesn't necessarily mean having to drastically change your life. It can be anything that you're already doing and you find
Mm-hmm.
meaning to it. You try to connect it towards, okay, this is going to give it more meaning, this is something that is important for me as well, that I can use whatever resources and wherever I am to make positive change. And a lot of people don't really think of it that way. When they think about finding meaning in their life, they think that it's supposed to be something so grand and so life changing, when it's something that we can actually already start doing with whatever we have at the moment.
Yes, correct. Ako naman, siguro, I will just add, like, in general, for me, like, to separate, kasi diba you talked about both as purpose and passion at the same time.
Mm.
Parang, I guess, at the same I would want to a bit differentiate purpose and passion for myself.
Yes.
Like purpose for me is something that we really feel we want to be able to contribute into the world, and passion, it's really something, the fire inside of us. And I guess to connect it with what both of you guys are saying, when you find the parang the intersection of both this purpose and passion, that's the one that can really parang drive you to move forward for the impact that we can make in this world.
I believe they call that an ikigai, right?
Yes,
Yes.
The
ikigai.
Japanese term for the reason to jump out of bed in the morning, and it's the
Yes.
mix of what
Correct.
you want, what you enjoy doing, what you think that the world and believe the world needs, and some also part of that mix is also something that makes money because the
Your
uh,
profession, your
profession,
Yeah.
right?
passion, purpose, and your profession. So it's the intersection of all that.
Yes, and honestly, if you look at what's happening with some of the amazing brands across the world that are really seriously talking about how they would like to look at sustainability, they're really committed in a way that at the same time they are extremely successful as companies and
Correct.
brands, but it's really just making sure that even the way we do business is geared towards that direction. And even, I guess, let's say the choices we make every day. Um, for consumerism and everything that we do, those can always be so purposeful too. It's the Christmas season. Ayan, biglang nagsabi na, hindi ako magpo-promote ng any brand. I'm just gonna say that it is extremely amazing when we support local brands, locally made
Yeah,
products. Kasi natutulungan natin mga sariling kababayan natin. So honestly, sa mismong Christmas
correct.
shopping pa lang, there's already a purpose pa rin. So you can embed purpose in everything that you do by being intentional about it as well.
Speaking of sustainability and the environment, can you tell more us everybody here how you started with Cora? You mentioned earlier about your mom and starting with a bit of volunteer work, but even growing up, were you already environmentally conscious? Is this something that you're already passionate about?
I actually get asked that question all the time, and I actually willingly share in most of my talks the fact that I did not grow up being completely aware. Actually, I did not even know about sustainability till just a few years ago, till this decade. And when we talk about being an environmentalist, I would have never considered myself an environmentalist. I would have considered myself or my family, most especially my mom, a very, very charitable person. And she was always someone that made sure that we always did something to give back or to help. And she always stressed that, like whether it's family, friend, or a stranger, or someone you really completely have never even met before, to her, being able to do what you can to help others is really important, especially if you feel you're being blessed as well. And so that is something that I was exposed to. And so when it comes to, I guess, the environment, I was really shocked this past decade about the facts that I learned, like all the scary things about, how the Philippines produces 163 million sachets per day, things like that. How food waste is really something that could actually disappear, and just by saving one third of what we waste is already enough to end world hunger. But these facts are really, at the end of the day, things that shocked me, but also made me realize that sustainability is, at the end of the day, caring. It's just caring again. Everything really is caring, whether it's people or it's the environment, and caring about that impact as well. So intersectionality is another term I was introduced to recently. How we think sometimes the topics that affect the environment and affect people are completely different, when in reality things that impact the environment don't just affect human health, they actually have a lot of human rights implications for many communities across the world. And so these new topics that were just introduced in the past decade have been something that I suddenly became extremely passionate about. So I've just really been trying to empower myself to learn more, to educate myself by not just attending webinars, but just really having that really genuine interest to read more about it. But the fuel behind it, as mentioned, the fire that Dar mentioned earlier, is really, I guess, the echo of that love that I feel that I will always have in my heart for my mom. And so it really started with a simple feeding program with friends and family in 2016. And just a little fact about food waste just really opened up the doors to everything else, from food waste to plastic pollution to climate change. And it's all interconnected. And so I kind of just allowed it to embrace my life. At one point, I wasn't sure. At one point, I was really questioning, oh my gosh, what do I really do? And I had different people telling me what to do. Like, oh my gosh, you need to keep focusing on your work. You're getting distracted. May mga iba naman na, hindi, wag na yung work. Yan na lang gawin mo. So, ang daming iba-ibang opinions. But now, I'm grateful to have found a way to try to mesh both sides of the spectrum as well.
Nice. How about one of the things that parang I really admire, guys. I mean, both of you, Kat and Antoinette, I know you've done a lot of great work with CORA, with Project CORA. And I think another question that we have also coming from our audience and our parang I guess our audience who've asked beforehand is that sometimes, 'di ba, in the course of our work, we love what we do, but sometimes parang nagkakaroon din tayo ng disconnect with parang the everyday things that we do, and then especially during this pandemic, 'di ba? Parang a lot of us parang we were challenged with work, we were challenged with the everyday stuff, and then parang suddenly we feel like disconnected. Is this still really my passion? Is this really still my purpose? Um, would you
Yeah,
guys have any tips in terms of how do you then navigate? Kasi parang we were thrown in a loop because of the
yeah,
pandemic suddenly I'm not so sure again what do I
yeah.
want, diba?
Actually, it's not just in career, but also in like what they want out of life. Things that the way that it was pre-print pandemic, as we were, I guess, more than anything distracted by and overwhelmed by all the many things that were happening around us. That sometimes it's we haven't really had the chance to sit down and really think about what am I doing? What really makes me happy? Because apparently, like before, maybe buying bags or buying whatever and traveling were things that made you happy. And they can still make you happy. But when you're alone by yourself, you find that, okay, if I don't have travel, if I don't have shopping, or if I don't have my boyfriend or whoever with me, what is then my purpose? Who am I? And then all of these big questions come about, and it was really challenging during the pandemic. And during the pandemic as well, I could also say that we were also super hyper focused on being productive because we were at home. We felt that we had to be 2 3 times more productive than we were before because we had
Correct.
this illusion of free time. Like, I'm not doing anything, even though you're supposed to rest or you're supposed to chill out because you're in the middle of a pandemic. We were forced, right? We were forced to just
Mm-hmm.
continue to push ourselves to do something. And when we get into that mode where we have to be super hyper productive, we end up getting tired, getting burnt out. And when you're burnt out, it's more than being tired, it's also an emotional feeling where you start to question if this is even worth it, if um, this has meaning, if this is really what makes me happy. And it's completely normal to feel tired or to feel burnt out, even if it's something that you find purpose and passion in. So maybe,
Yeah.
Antoinette, if you can share, like if there have been times where in the middle of all of this work that you're doing, the meaningful advocacy work that you're doing, you've ever felt that, okay, like you're questioning or like you're thinking, and how do you get yourself out of that mindset?
Yes, of course. Actually, this is really an important topic, and I feel that I can really, really relate because of the fact that I feel one of the largest lessons that I'm also trying to learn and apply in my life is really understanding that we are on Earth, we are living life, and challenges will always be there in one way, shape, or form. Because sometimes there's a tendency to tell ourselves, oh, once this is over, everything is going to be perfect. And of course, nothing really is ever perfect. One challenge is usually just replaced by another, and the journey really just continues. And it's really up to us how we respond to it, how we look at it. And also, once again, it goes back to the root of why we are doing it. Because no matter what it is, di ba nga pag sinabi natin may mga term minsan, people will say, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for my children, I'm doing this for my partner. So, or para sa bayan, meron, di ba? So, parang when we say things like that, we really do emphasize and mean why, no matter what challenges and efforts may come our way, we will still be willing to move forward. And those are the things that remind me of it, the communities that we work with, that we support, because in reality, development work is very, very, very challenging. It's not an easy line of work, and at the same time, being a volunteer and doing certain passion projects is one thing, but running an entire nonprofit and really managing all these big projects is also a very serious responsibility. And so, these are things that I've grown to love because, once again, of the meaning behind it. But it doesn't change that challenges will come. There are difficult
Yes.
days. And that's why what Kat mentioned, also mastering the art of balance, is extremely important. Respecting, not just the lifestyle, the time, and the personalities of the different people that we work with, but our own selves as well. So, um, all of the above.
Oh, I think it's super important to be able to achieve balance, that we really take the time to get to know ourselves. Kasi parang I think that's also something that's missing, that people like, okay, we keep on looking to outside or looking to like what are the things that we need to do be able to balance the different elements outside our lives, right? But there's also that important thing about our internal condition, yung makulit kong babies here, the internal condition, like being able to understand yourself, like what do you need to be able to, I guess, rest. What is resting really mean to you? What is getting refreshed, diba? Getting
Yeah.
this new dose of inspiration. Yung parang anything that will just spark back. Kasi I mean, the reality is we will get tired if we don't know how to, I guess, rest and refresh ourselves.
You know what, Dar? Since your two girls are here, it reminds me of the wonderful story that you also have when you started Belle de Jour. When you started developing all of these planners, because you also wanted your life plan. You wanted to have a plan, and seeing you with your girls, your ladies, it's an entirely different journey on its own. How do you rest?
For me, I really take care of myself in terms of sleep. So having the two girls, like early on, one of the things that people don't know about me, it's I'm actually a sleep training advocate. So for all the moms or future moms, like I really encourage sleep training with your kids. And I consider this some sort of life training because it's really a lot about routine. It's like getting your body accustomed, and the baby's bodies accustomed with the rising and the setting of the sun. So, ayan, kaya they're saying goodnight to me kasi it's their bedtime, and then they wake up at around 7 and they go to sleep around 7 to 8 na kasi they're a bit older, but before they go to sleep like 6 to 7. And then for myself, hindi naman ganun kaaga yung bedtime ko. But I do my best to really sleep at around 10, 11, and then I wake up at around 6. And, but swerte ako kasi I'm able to get into deep sleep a bit easier compared to other people. So for me, resting is really having good quality sleep. Like people ask me all the time, Kat, like parang where do you get the energy and so on. So aside from the passion, purpose that you guys have been talking about, which gets me out of bed every day, the physical body, I need my sleep. That's really part of the important thing for me, and it's really that routine that really practically, guys, that's really what helps me
I
as a
love that.
practical advice.
I love
I
that,
can
Dar. And I think
relate.
they ask me that question all the time, and to Antoinette as well. Like, how do you balance everything, and how do you even rest? Do you even sleep? And I think about it when even at the start, to Antoinette, when you were talking about all the things that we were doing at Cora and the things that you're also balancing separate from work. Um, it's difficult to think about, like, how does she even have the time to take care of herself? And when we think about passion and purpose, a lot of us also think that, it's just, despite the challenges, just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. But that's not always the case. There's always
Correct.
self-care that you have to prioritize so that it fuels you to keep going. So what does that self-care look like for you, Antoinette?
Oh my gosh. Well, I couldn't agree more with the sleep as well and the resting. But I feel like syempre sleep, rest, and balance are all things that we're really all trying to master and achieve. Some of us are masters na. Ako, I'm continuing to try to really empower myself in different ways when it comes to this. But honestly, a lot of it is also really, once again, talking about the intentionality of it. For example,
Yes.
even learning how to say no. So there was a tendency
Mhm.
before that as long as there was literally an opening and somebody happened to ask me for that opening, I just can't help it. I automatically say yes. Kasi sanay ako, it's open and pwede talaga. So
Yeah.
I've really been trying to learn to tell myself, wait lang, ayan ka na naman, nag-yes ka na naman just because it's open, wait lang. Rethink it first, like, what are you doing the day before? What are your challenges the day after as well? And then also looking at what's already my state at that moment. Am I tired? Do I think I can still handle it? So really putting more thought into the things that I say yes and no to as well. Because it was also very difficult for me. I always wanted to to say yes. I can be a people pleaser, and really realizing that doing that doesn't make you a bad person. So that's another thing. Really being kind to myself and telling myself that it's okay. You have to do this for you, and you have to do it for the people that you're working with, the people that you're surrounded by, because it doesn't just impact the work or the quality of work that you do, it also impacts the quality of who you are, your personality every
Exactly.
day, your mood, everything else. So, I'm trying every day, and so much love to people that continue to understand and be patient.
I don't get it perfect all the time, but parang I really agree with the intentionality. Like there's really that intention na this is something I want to be able to give to myself. I think once you figured out like what kind of self-care that your body needs and you physically, you personally, like what you need, then you take that intention, like very deliberate in giving that to yourself as a gift.
Hmm.
Ayun.
Yes.
We have a
Ikaw,
lot of
Kat, what about
I,
you? Ay, sorry.
Oo, ang self-care mo. Sinabi mo kanina, syempre rest and balance din. Pero
I
honestly, really, how do you do it all?
oh my
Just like
gosh. This week, especially, there was no rest or balance. There are going to be those weeks where you kind of just,
Yeah,
okay, I'll push because I think and I believe that by the holiday season, okay, I'll just give myself the break that I need. But, I don't always get it right as well. So I try to balance it and make sure I stick to a schedule. Ako pa naman, sobrang I get distracted really fast. And I'm also such a people pleaser, which is very, very bad because I tend to just say yes and just keep going, just take it on because I feel and I think that I can take it on. And in the middle of it, I'm just like, oh no, there's too much. And what I end up doing when I do this is I make sure that in the morning or in the evening I stick to a routine or a schedule. Like try not to have your phone beside your bed at night or in the morning as well. Try to stay off social media first thing in the morning. Get your whatever it is that you like doing, skincare, just working out, going for a run, walking, getting your coffee, everything without the distractions, and have that routine. It helps me put balance and focus in myself because when I'm just constantly moving and constantly doing the work, that's the I can start to see signs where I'm getting overwhelmed and burnt out. And when I push it, that's when I tend to get a little bit more lost with what I'm doing. And like
correct,
what
correct.
Antoinette said, you tend to not be your best self when you don't take care of
Yes.
yourself. And you start to become that person you don't really want to be, whether that's moody or whatever. It's just I see it and it happens. But that's all the more reason for us to learn to take a step back and take care of ourselves. It's part of that finding that passion. It's part of fueling that fire.
Yes,
Yes,
and if I
definitely.
may add, actually, I mean, we mentioned some of the simple things, but really, again, rooting it back. Um, there's different ways that people also find that solid ground, that stability. For me, it really is also my faith. And many years ago, actually, many talaga, um, I was always also journaling, and journaling was a big part of the healing process for me. And of course, we always talk about therapy. So whether it's online therapy, volunteering, all these things are also important in keeping us grounded. And whether it's also being able to talk to family and friends or someone that you trust, those things still matter. Because sometimes there's a tendency to get stuck in just work and rest, and I also forget the side of really going back to friends and family as well from the hectic schedules, and so that's something I hope to also balance out even more.
Ganda ng
Yeah.
therapy and journaling. It's both of our it's both
Yeah.
of our passions all in
Yes.
one. 'Di ba? Journaling and
Napaka,
therapy.
oo.
Sakto.
I'm,
And sige, go
go
Dar.
ahead. Go, go, go.
No,
Ako,
I was just gonna say
sorry.
that
Sa
it's
akin, yeah. Yeah, it's really something that will help you in a way slow down. And I think sometimes people think that slowing down must parang everything will pile up if you slow down. But actually when you achieve like a sense of clarity, parang it helps you actually speed up later on. Meaning right now just allow yourself, and I think that's also one thing I wanted to add earlier. It's just being forgiving with yourself. Like things won't be perfect, and at the same time, parang sometimes you don't get it right, whether it's on self-care and or other things in your life, like this girl.
Oh,
But
dude, she's got it.
yeah, wish you wants a hug. But at the same time, parang you just give yourself that grace that it's okay. Parang right now it's not, maybe it's not exactly as perfect as I want it to be, but it can turn out okay, and it might even turn out even better. So just giving yourself that space para mawala lang siguro yung giggle. But yes, syempre I'm the proponent for journal therapy. Napaka-important 'yan. I was
Yeah.
actually doing journal therapy just before our show, tapos parang buti na lang there was a reminder regarding the
Get
time.
carried away.
I got carried away.
Pero ang ganda what you said. And like to add to what I was gonna say was that journaling and therapy not only allows us to slow down, but allows us to rethink and ask ourselves our questions. It's okay to ask ourselves why every now and then. It's a great check-in. Just because you think that today, okay, today I'm passionate about the environment, it's okay to keep asking yourself and reminding yourself and digging deeper. Hanapin mo yung hugot mo, and a therapist and journaling can help with those big questions. But
Correct.
like I mentioned, they are big questions. And to what you said, Dar, direction is more important than speed, right? You can go really, really
Mhm.
fast in some other direction, but if you don't know where you're going, it's just going around in circles, and you end up keep asking yourself, like, okay, what am I doing? Why am I doing this, right? So how do we
Mhm.
get started on asking ourselves that big question? If, for example, and I'm sure there are a lot of ladies here that are just getting, might just be getting started and asking themselves, what is my purpose? What am I passionate about? What do I believe in? How do we begin to ask those questions? And maybe if you can share also, was that journey like for you, Antoinette?
Oh my. When I really think of what you said, the whole having direction is more important than speed, super nakaka-relate din ako dun. Kasi minsan kapag passionate din tayo, or we have a mission, a vision, or we have a plan. Sabi nga nila, di ba, man plans and God laughs. But in reality, it really means that at the end of the day, parang yung sinabi kanina ni Dar, which is whatever's meant to be. And it's important to remind
Mhm.
ourselves of that at the end of the day, parang God's will is always the pathway that is always best for us, that cannot hurt us, and that is there to actually uplift us even more. And so I do have to remind myself of that. And not just that, the speed part too. So whether it's knows that I firmly believe na talaga now that there's no such thing as a no. No is just really literally trying to make sure that you're gonna end up where you really need to be. Kasi kung di ka naman dapat
Correct.
dun sa yes, oh no. So it's almost like a no for something that's not meant to be. You should be grateful for that because it's actually leading to you to where you need to be. Maybe it's not yet the right time, or maybe the opportunity is just about to present itself. But we should never give up on those thoughts. And so, even when it comes to speed, there have been some words as well shared earlier, like humility, and also really also looking at being able to look at what we are really truly capable of. Syempre, our dreams are much faster and bigger than what's actually realistic on a daily basis, and
Right.
that we can never do things alone. We really have to do things with the people around us that believe in the same things. So not just care about you, but care about the same things that you care about too. And you really need these allies, these teams, these family members that not necessarily blood family to be there with you on this journey. And it's not just to get the mission done, but to also be there to support you. Oh, nag-emo na ako. To support you along, to help you get through the challenges and remind you that you are not alone. So, I guess yeah, those are some of the most important things that I still try to remind myself as well.
Yeah. Sobrang, I think it's like really just important being able to ground yourself with the direction so that parang you're really just on the right path. But at the same time, parang allowing, I think the purpose also, sometimes that why we need to journal is sometimes sa sobrang minsan gulo ng buhay. Parang pumunta ka dito, pumunta ka dito, pumunta ka dito. Then suddenly, parang you forget how far you've gone. And you don't have that appreciation na parang, shucks, ang layo na pala yung narating ko, 'di
Oh,
ba? Kasi
yes.
minsan yun din eh, yung nakakapagod kasi parang you feel, let's say, especially if you don't stop, take the time to pause, you feel like you're go, go, go. And I think that's what's been happening to us for the past 3 years, and especially so because of the pandemic. i- it's just really like, okay, I'll pivot here, I'll pivot here, I'll pivot here, I'll pivot here, diba? We keep on adjusting. And that's why we get so tired. But when we don't pause and even appreciate ourselves, like pat ourselves on the shoulder and say, oh, congratulations, I'm here. We're surviving 2022 in a couple of days, right? Parang lalo lang tayong napapagod. And that's why I think also, like, we talked about journaling, gratitude journaling for me like helps a lot. It helps, I don't know, help us remember how far we've gone, how much we've achieved. I mean, sometimes kasi we just feel like parang ano ba nangyayari? You feel like you're going on around circles, diba? But if you truly just objectively look at how far you've gone, parang I can't imagine anyone who has not really grown in this pandemic, to be honest.
I
Ah,
agree. There, there's a
yeah.
wonderful question as well.
Yes.
It's sort of very related to this because we're always just pivoting and moving around, right? And to a point, it can get into something that we obsess over like the next goal and then the next challenge. So, how can you make this is a question by Irish? How can you make your passion not be an obsession, not be obsessive about plans and goals? And Antoinette, maybe you can share your
Oh my.
thoughts.
Na-pressure ako sa question.
Ang hirap ng question, no?
Beauty queen?
Hindi kasi I have to say it's a very good question. I
Yeah.
myself, this is another specific topic that I've been trying to learn as well and improve and apply in my life because I've had a number of, I mean, we all have different dreams and lots of different dreams and pathways. I used to think when I was younger, we have one dream and we have to stick to that and that's it. But now we know living in this world that we live in, a beautiful world as well, no matter what the challenges are, that we can have many dreams and they can intersect. And so, in a way, it's looking at how we accept talaga what comes our way. And I think part of that is not comparing as well. Kasi minsan, the obsessive part might also tend to come from the competitive part of looking at maybe trying to achieve something that others might have, and this could even be people that we're inspired by, heroes that we have,
Correct.
but whether it's a hero or a colleague or a peer member. I feel like it's, or even classmates, someone at work. I feel like it's important to remember talaga what all people always say: progress, not perfection, and not just that.
Yes.
Trust the adventure of your own journey. Na kanya-kanya talaga tayong mga story. It's not the same pace na. And even let's say, just because you didn't, for example, me in the US, it took me times to pass my written driving test. So I like to believe there's a bigger reason for that. Bakit hindi ako nag-pass nung time? But there's nothing to be obsessed that I had to pass it the first time. The point is, I got there. And whatever it may be, whatever dream you have, it's important to really look at the meaning of the journey every single day, the impact you are actually making. And I think even in mental health, when we talk about it, even if you are able to just lighten up someone's life, save a life, one life, that in itself is already saving the world. And so there's always that opportunity to always believe that you are doing something amazing every single day, especially if you don't compare it with others as well. I try to remind myself that.
Beautifully
Mhm.
said.
I think honestly, medyo mahirap talaga yung question, no? Regarding how to make sure that your passion does not become an obsession. Siguro sa akin, I agree completely with what Antoinette said regarding minsan we compare too much, so it becomes like a competition and nagkakaroon ng gigil, and then it's not rooted na it's not rooted anymore in what the purpose is. So Iris, it's okay. We love
Don't
all
say
these
sorry.
questions. I don't apologize. We appreciate this question. For me, when the passion also related to what we were talking about earlier, when the passion loses the purpose, I think that's when it becomes the obsession. Kasi 'di ba yung generally like the passion when there's that fire, meron ka
Yeah.
pa rin, parang 'di ba it comes from inside you that this is something that you want. But there's also that purpose that I was talking about earlier that's a contribution to the world, 'di ba, the impact, the effect. If you make your passion like as if it's become so much of a task and then you lose the heart of it, you lose the meaning, I think it will borderline obsession. It's like, I just need to do this. I just need to do this. It's like, it
Yeah.
becomes like an ego based thing versus like out of love. So, I think medyo ganun siya. And you'd feel it. Usually this is what they say. If there's so much giggle in it, you have to do an ego check, like a step back with
What are you
what
really
you're
doing it
doing.
for?
Yeah.
That's
What are
right.
you doing it for? Why are you doing it? Parang, how
Right.
does this make you feel? It's like, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just like a check-in. Because
Yeah.
Correct.
sometimes you can be doing the same thing, but like your mindset or your current energy space is
Yeah.
just, you just need to tweak it a bit. Maybe it's like that lang.
And when you say ego, it's not just it being vain or selfish. A lot of times we grow up also with a different definition of success, like the way our parents have taught us to be successful, that this is the mark and you have to reach that mark, or how we were all taught as well that there's no such thing as second place, it's first place all the time. And
Correct, correct,
there's no
correct.
right or wrong definition of success.
But
Whatever it is entirely your own, diba? But
mm-mm.
Yes.
it's up to us to also check in. And there's a related question here on how do we avoid being too critical with
Critical to
ourselves,
yourself.
especially
Before
when you
that,
do want.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Kat. Sasagutin ko pala hindi ko pala na-clarify yung ego needs.
Go, go,
Sorry. Oo
go.
nga pala. Yung ego needs that I'm talking about or I'm mentioning is sometimes diba, we have this need to look good or the need to know, the need to control certain things. So
Yes.
sometimes yun yung umiiral na parang, oh, I need to be successful in this because otherwise I'd look like a failure. Or I need to um, ano ba, parang ganun siya, not so much
Yeah.
ego. You're right, it's not like about parang being beautiful or yung vanity, but there's that on the pride thing that when it becomes that, then I feel like then it becomes an obsession when it's not grounded on the real purpose on why that's your passion, but rather on that different ego need. Sorry, okay, go back to our next question.
That's
Tama naman. And
amazing.
absolutely, it's related as well. Because like when we think about our ego needs, we tend to criticize and be
Correct.
unkind to ourselves in many ways. So how do we avoid being too critical with ourselves, especially when we do want to achieve a lot of things? Antoinette.
Oh my gosh. Ako na naman yung first lucky question. Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. Honestly, I have to, I talk to myself a lot.
I do
Yes,
also.
it's something that I've always done. I think even as a kid, to be honest, I like to visualize and imagine situations, and even when I'm calming myself down, I literally speak to myself out loud. Pag wala namang tao, minsan may tao din siguro. I'm not sure, but um, and to me, whether it's prayer, also prayer or talking to myself, I try to remind myself because I definitely can be very critical. I'm a Virgo, and I'm also sort of a perfectionist. Kat is smiling. Or ibang topic ba yun? Sana iba yung kinakasmile ni Kat. But I can definitely be a perfectionist. So even with myself, I've had to teach myself to be kind with my progress, with mistakes, with things that I possibly may achieve or may not achieve. But I've always been kasi the type that's, oh my gosh, manalo matalo, go for it, try. Yung ganon. So in a way, there's a side of me that whatever I'm faced with, I'm really trying to keep that mindset na eh. Lalo na yung binanggit ko kanina na kapag no, literally talagang inano ko na, in-ingrain ko na sa heart and soul ko. It's not a no, it's not meant to be. Ay, you can
Yeah.
really think of that for anything, even relationships. If you really would like to believe that you are being blessed and led down the path where you need to be. So, whatever it may be, being too critical, I feel like it's just reminding yourself once again that you're doing your best. And as long as you know you're doing your best, that's what matters. And this also goes for allowing yourself to rest and kind of just shut down sometimes if you need to. And even if let's say you do have a deadline but hindi mo na talaga kaya minsan, you have to allow yourself to still have days to be able to take care of yourself and let go and not beat yourself up about it either because you were just human and we all also deserve that kindness and that time and there's always another chance. Sinasabi ko nga na pag minsan natataranta ka na, oh no, I missed this opportunity, that chance, that deadline, or even that audition. You're like, well, that was yesterday's audition today, and tomorrow will be the new one for the future. So you always look forward to the next on how you can just be better. What can you learn from it? And really understanding that everything happens for a reason as well. Honestly.
I love that. There's so many things that I'm taking away from this, but also I'm laughing specifically because of the sign of Virgo. We are sign sisters. I'm a Capricorn, and a lot of times that I also think also the way that I think about it is constantly just pushing myself, and this is the way that it has to be, and my sign's an achiever, and I have to do this and be super super critical about myself. So I try to take it slow, and that's the importance also of going to therapy because whenever I feel very critical about and I start to listen to myself and that my self-talk is already turning out to be negative, that's when I check in all the time, but I check in often with my therapist, and she helps me dig deep to why I'm saying this to myself. What is my definition of success? Why do I think I will be a failure if I don't achieve this? Why do I feel bad about this mistake? And a lot of times it stems from maybe a trauma or something that's unhealed within me. And that's where a lot of the criticism and being so harsh on myself is stemming from.
Coming
So
from, yeah.
it's a lot of it takes a lot of stepping back. And when I think about achievement, it's also a mix of comparing myself to others. And
Yes.
going staying on social media. That's why social media detox is so so important, and I
Mhm.
advocate it because subconsciously you may not be thinking it, you may be thinking that it's just mindlessly scrolling on social media, on Instagram or on Facebook, but subconscious you're feeding your brain with information that you tend to compare yourself with, like, oh, this person's in this country, this person's
Correct.
with this person, and this person's achieving and receiving so many awards, and at the back of your head, even though it's not something that's outright consciously there, you're thinking about like, what am I doing in life, when you don't know the whole story. It's a filtered version of what they've gone through. At the same time, you also are going through so many things that you don't post on social media. So we should always take things with a grain of salt and take a step back and detox from that, and recognize that your journey is completely your own. And I love what you said, Tony, about like just being able to also check in. And one of the biggest things that I found very important, other than checking in with my therapist, is having a good support system. And it's partners like Dar, who I also check in a lot with recently, and also with you, Antoinette, on not just on work stuff, but on life, and reminding myself and treating myself with kindness. I don't think we've ever failed to remind each other of each other's success and how we constantly inspire each other. And it's great to have a support system like that, who will remind you of your worth and remind you of your journey as well.
Correct, correct. I really love everything that you guys said. And it's ano na, ang bilis ng time. It's 6:55. So we're at the end of our at the show. So
Parang kakaumpisa
um
lang, we're just
oo
getting
nga,
warmed
parang kakastart pa lang. Ready pa tayo. Ready pa tayo makipagchika eh. But we want to be respectful of your time. So, Antoinette, maybe you can share some final words about finding your passion, like final tips. I know you shared a lot of takeaways, but maybe just a few key takeaways for the people who are just catching up. And maybe you can promote something about Cora.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dara and Kat, of course. And before I thank you so much more, I really, I guess, want to leave this message with everyone. And I didn't really prepare and think about this. It's the first thing that popped into my mind. But I guess I want everyone to really realize that lately I've really been saying a lot. Na I know it sounds like such a weird cliche how when people say life begins at 40. I turned 41 this year in 2022. But the thing is, I don't really want to say that it's beginning. I just want to really believe that I feel like even getting older as the years pass by, and this doesn't actually pertain to aging per se. I just want to remind you that there is always something to look forward to, and it is never the end. It is always actually there's always the potential to keep improving, to keep making things more exciting, to learn more, to keep empowering yourself. And so that's what I see also comes with aging. With aging comes more knowledge, more brilliance, more experience, more ways that you can not just improve yourself but be there for others. And so, if we can always remember that there's never any reason to give up, there's no time limit. At any time in your life, you can do whatever you want, be anything you want to be at any age, whether you're young or old. There's no such thing as a timeline. It's never too early or too late. So, do not be afraid. Go for it. Whatever brings you joy, find a way to connect that with the light in someone else's life. And that will just keep leading you forward. Because even how Cora started, we never thought we would have a nonprofit. We just wanted to start volunteering with friends and family on a monthly basis. And it turned into this. We kind of just followed the crumbs along the way. And whatever it is for you, it's there. It's there. So open up your heart, your mind, your soul. Find your allies, the people that will be with you on that journey, not just to achieve the mission once again, but to support you along the way. And of course, you for them. And for Cora, if you're looking for any volunteering opportunities, we're always here for you for feeding programs, coastal cleanups, tree planting. And if you can't be there yourself, if you're maybe far away and can't be there physically, we offer ways to donate to these initiatives as well. And you can find out more from our website at www.wearecora.org. That's WEARECORA.org. And of course, on social media, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and other platforms as at Planet and at We Are Cora. And of course, my page is at Antoinette Taus on both Facebook and Instagram. And we hope to see you at one of our missions and initiatives in the future to 2030 and beyond. And to close, I just want to say thank you, Dar and Kat. Thank you so much once again, of course, to Belle de Jour. Thank you to MindNation for having me tonight. And to everyone that joined us online, we hope that we were able to somehow uplift and give you love and light for this past hour. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tony. Everything that you've said. I speak to you about this a lot, but I can't help but always feel so inspired and motivated to take on whatever challenges we have for the rest of the year and the year to come. And thank you, Dar. Also, this is the last live stream for the year, so it's such a great year end discussion that we have. And thank you again, Tony. Again, for those that want to volunteer with Cora, you can visit www.wearecora.org and follow them on social media. There's so many exciting projects, campaigns, initiatives that will be happening next year. So I hope that you can stick around and learn more about them. Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you. So, this holiday season, let's give ourselves and those we love the most something more fulfilling that you can give more than anything that you can find in the store. We have on promo the MindNation Self Love Pack. It's 50% off starting today until January 12, 2023. The plan includes 3 1-hour sessions with a psychologist, so it's 50% off for only 2,550 pesos. Give it for yourself, give it for your loved ones. I believe everybody deserves therapy. So go ahead and give it to everybody. It's a gift of self love, the My Nation Self Love Pack. And it can help you. It's a session with a licensed psychologist, 3 sessions with 1 hour each that can help you set boundaries, live intentionally, and have better relationship with yourselves and with the ones that matter. You can buy that and buy as many as you want on Facebook Messenger, bit.ly/mindnation-book, or email book@mindnation.com. Thank you so much.
Ayan, and I'm back. Sorry.
It's okay.
I think I'm connecting to my mobile data, but it's fine. It's at the end. And thank you, Kat. It's been a wonderful 2022 with you. And I'm just really happy that we've been here, we've survived, we've been together, and we're just very happy to be able to support all the Bellas and of course the Mind Nation community for the past, I don't know, 2 years, I
2 years.
think. two
2 years na
years.
tayo.
2 years na. 2 years na.
2 years na
2 years
tayo.
in a relationship. Yeah, guys.
Yes.
So, ayan. And I guess final words for this topic of purpose and passions. Actually, last night I just did like a goal setting workshop for some people in the Bella community. So I guess I just want to share that please do allow yourself and give yourself permission to dream, to plan, to have a purpose, to have a passion, even if you don't know 100% of your action plan. I hope you can like imbibe that kasi sometimes or most of the time, a lot of us parang we get so OC na kailangan sobrang detailed, kailangan perfect lahat, or kailangan sobrang clear what we need to do or what parang we need to be able to follow through before we truly allow ourselves. But the truth is, it's really not supposed to be 100% perfect. Maybe just as what Antoinette said earlier, with Cora, it's just about following the crumbs and just do one first step, then second step, and third step. And let's have a wonderful last few days of the year, Kat, and have a even more wonderful 2023.
See you.
Ikaw.
Ay, nako, it's gonna be so exciting. I'm really excited for this. And again, Dar and the Belle de Jour team, we are so so grateful for this partnership and to everybody that has tuned in so far in our second year of live streams. I hope to have more meaningful discussions with you and with all the Bellas and the Mind Nation community in the years to come. Have a wonderful holiday, guys.
Happy holidays.